from an outsider's point of view, emo punk rock would only be heard on the intro or outro of some corny but relatable high school themed movie about a group of outcasts just trying to make it. But just like any other subculture, within it exists a complex ecosystem of minor differences which to the everyday casual might just seem like it's all the same mess of noise. Obviously not true. On paper it would seem the emo and punk wave has died down, but if you know where to look, you'll realize that in some ways it's more alive than it's ever been. Sure, you won't find Yellow Card or Blink-182 on the Billboard Hot 100, but that doesn't mean that Travis Barker isn't still putting in work. Once major labels lose the will to control the direction of a genre is when it returns to its core roots. Thus, I'm sure we can at least all agree that punk has had its time in the mainstream forefront. I can still remember listening to Black Parade back in 2006 and enjoying how catchy the vocal melodies were, or even playing Bone Out 3 and learning every word to a band whose name I didn't know. I'm pretty sure there's still a whole bunch of casuals who know about Bullet for My Valentine's, Hand of Blood, from Need for Speed Most Wanted. Definitely more hardcore, but you get my drift. But to assume that the genre is totally dead and gone, like rock, Nickelback, would just not be true, because we can still hear its influence continue to shape modern music, just as it did between the 90s well into the 2000s. So if we were to try and identify the key differences between this massively wide subgenre, we could go on forever, so I'll stick to the two main traits which I feel are important. It would come down to emotion and sonic quality. To me, these two characteristics will always strongly shape what a song will end up sounding like. We could identify the subgenres by name, for example, but I feel I'd miss the point I'm trying to make. So starting with emotion. This is an obvious but sneaky one, as emotions can be portrayed in different ways. Just because a song is about love doesn't automatically mean it would sound soft and warm. Emo allows feelings to clash within a composition to give it an overall tone, which will probably leave you feeling all melancholy inside. But how is this achieved? Well, here's the trick. The guitar and vocal melodies can sound catchy and upbeat, but the underlying topic of the song can be dark and often have some sort of underlying message. Now, many genres make use of this method of writing, but to me, emo has always been that one genre that somehow got it a bit more right when it came to these core differences. In the modern emo rap format, an obvious young master of this would be Lil Peep, rest in peace. His melancholy and nonchalant style of delivery perfectly captures this contrast. Now, what obviously also makes any song unique would be the vocalist. I'd say 2000s emo punk generally stuck to a similar style of pronouncing words in an almost British style of English, weird when you actually think about it. Definitely listen to Cap and Jazz, I think they started the wave, definitely listen to them. But what makes today's emo punk even more interesting is, since we were all influenced by it, but also by many different genres like straight up trap, we can also fuse these sounds together. And boom, you end up with emo guitar sampled beats, trap drums, and a vocal style unique to each artist. Sonic differences. So to truly understand the differences in sound quality, we have to look back at the music industry right back to the 70s. Since emo is a subgenre of early punk, we have to understand a bit about OG punk itself. Punk was a form of rebellion founded by young musicians with something to say about society. So what does that leave us with? Well, when you mix these ingredients all together, you end up with a really grimy sound. This, in my opinion, is where distorting a mix, either by choice or not, came from. When you blend low-end gear with hardcore lyrics, it sometimes might just create a wave. XXXTentacion and Ski Mask, much? This wave was dubbed the DIY punk scene, and hopefully you can see that its influence still exists today. Yes, you're part of the DIY wave because you record your own music, duh. But as times changed, so did the guitar riffs in the late 90s. A more relaxed and, let's say, vibey punk era was born. I call it melancholy because the focus shifted to a more sadder vibe, so I guess we can say emo punk. Some notable bands in the 90s to spark this era were Cap and Jazz, maybe the fathers of the sound, who knows, and the Get Up Kids. Check them both out because your mind will pretty much be blown and you'll realize how the foundation of emo kind of was about. This is not in the script, just yeah. As we headed into the 2000s, record labels realized the sound was pretty damn popular amongst the youth.
Now right off the bat, you just know it's a bunch of old people in a conference room.
Label budgets and recording equipment had improved, thus matching a refined sound with refined engineers. And the lovely Neve and SSL consoles gave us bands like Jimmy Eat World, Hot Topic and Paramore. You could fill out the rest. This has left the modern musician with a pretty good map of what sounds we can sonically achieve. On one hand, we have completely trashed records with attitude and grime. On the other end, we have an industry-grade mix style marketable to the masses. So the road has led us here. Now what? The actual emo scene still exists. Check Fueled by Ramen for proof. Bands are still touring for sure. Blink-182x Lil Wayne much. But hip-hop seems to have taken a piece of what is left in the punk scene and adapted it to the modern wave of today. The underground of SoundCloud is more artists than I could ever count or cover, making really good music. Tommy Ice, fire. Kevin Kazi, fire. We could go on, but some interesting artists who have found mainstream success would obviously be Lil Peep, who brought the sound all the way back with his grimy influences, his vocal stacks making up for the lack of live guitars, and the USB mics to help add that distortion. On the other end, we have Juice WRLD, rest in peace, who has taken influence from the 2000s sound and made a huge career out of it. I always find it strange and interesting that he chose to sing his songs despite having recorded literally one of the sickest freestyles on YouTube ever. Tim Westwood TV! The sound is obviously addictive and was catering to a gap in the scene. Back to the West Coast though, and we have artists like Brendan Savage, Drippin' So Pretty, Lil Lotus, Cold Heart and Lil Aaron. Obviously many more carrying the torch. The real underground gems I'll leave to the comment section to post. Now I wrote this piece after recording the track I made and realized that it might not be emo enough topic wise, but I also wouldn't have written this piece if I didn't record the track. So regardless of if it fits the style or not, I don't care because it's my sound, which is influenced by the emo wave. That's always been my point. I don't care for copying to be exact, but rather showing you that you can get similar sonics and still be yourself. You are you at the end of the day, are you not? Let's get mixing. Also, cop every single thing on my web store. And if you own any emo or punk rap template, you can email me and I will give you a nice discount on this one. Let's get it. Alrighty, now it's time to check out the track that we have right here, man. I got a track that I've recorded recently and I think it is pretty cool. So yeah, man, we'll take a listen to it and we'll break down what I can within the span of 20 minutes. So yeah, man, definitely make sure to smash like as well as to subscribe and all of the good stuff, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show. Rockstar life, pull up, let it glow. It's too late right now, I gotta go. Kinda bands, I'm a man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson. Kinda bands, I'm a man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson. I keep it cool, but why you always stressing me? They say that death comes in threes. Won't see you, so rest in peace. Falling out, I hate when we don't speak. Just block it out, cause I know you don't like the thing. Fuck all that fake shit, just keeping it real though. Yeah, we could just fly away. Let's go to Pluto. Tell me how you feeling. I got racks in the building. Hopping coops and we swerving. All these demons, they lurking. I'm certain she flirting. All this pain got you hurt, and I know there's some searching. Look for purpose, it's worthless. Look for purpose, it's not here. All that talk, am I right? All the signs led you right here. All the signs led you right here. Left me all alone, but I'm right here. So cold. Left me all alone, but I'm right here. Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show. Rockstar life, pull up, let it glow. It's too late right now, I gotta go. Kinda bands, I'm a man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson. Kinda bands, I'm a man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson.
Alrighty, and there we go, man. We got another cool track that we have recorded within FL Studio. So yeah, man, the first thing I want to just talk about before we really get into the kind of detailed mixing stuff is really I want you to focus on creating like an atmosphere within your track. So as you can see, the way I've done that, and you can definitely check out my transition sound pack. It also has this final effect on it and all of the kind of transitions you heard in the track. But what I want to do is kind of create an almost kind of wood cabin, I don't know how to describe it, but just a more homely type of sound, you know, to complement the guitars that we had, kind of like downer sounding guitars. So as you can see, I start the track off with, you know, the hiss, you know, and end the track off with the hiss, you know, so we've kind of created this consistency. Anyway, where it's a quiet part, we kind of bring that back in, you know, so you can kind of see how the track ends. So, you know, I kind of learned to do that from, you know, I've always been in advertising sound design, so designing, you know, the sound for adverts and that kind of thing. So you kind of learn how to do stuff like this, you know. You know, that'll be in your typical kind of adverts. So, you know, definitely check out the kit as well if you want to learn how to, you know, or kind of just follow along on what I do to really bring your tracks to life that way, you know.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow.
You know, it adds that extra third dimension. I think that's also going to, you know, give the ear that extra bit of, you know, movement that it needs to really feel like your song is done, you know. So anyway, that being said, man, you know, the elements we have in our song, besides that, we've got our beat, we've got our main vocal and our verses. These are all going to the same channel. I'll show you right now. It is going to channel 7. So if I click on one of these randomly, going to channel 7, one of these going to channel 7. So, you know, the way I like to lay out my format, or my template format more so is, you know, since we've got all these things, these different elements, the way my template is set up, you know, for those who are new, I've got a mic input channel, and as you can see, the last thing I recorded in this session was a left backing vocal. So what I can do is, because I've got a microphone input channel, I can add my mic to this channel, and then I'm able to then send my voice at any moment into a different green channel. Now, all of these green channels, what I'm doing is just check in the top corner right there. I'm using the control button and left click, and that's going to allow me to be able to monitor my voice with different effect chains, right, with different vocal effects on them. So we've got this kind of main rap vocal, which is our main vocal, which you've been listening to. We've got our doubler, which I'll play for you real quick.
Kind of bands, I'm the man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson. Kind of.
You know, then we've got our left backing. And then just as much as we have a left backing, right, which is hard pan left, hard pan right is the right backing, then we get this cool stereo sound.
Kind of bands, I'm the man. Rockstar, yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson. Kind of bands.
So as you can see, that happens. And then we also have a stadium ad-lib, is just what I've called it. So basically, right, is for me, I want to be able to listen to a somewhat finished sound while recording if my CPU can handle it. Right now, I know a lot of people, you know, I don't have everything on. I don't have a master chain when I'm recording. I generally don't have all these effects on. I generally only have an SSL channel strip. I usually have my compressor. I usually have my auto-tune on, and that's really all I'm doing. And as I start building the track, I start creating these secondary kind of backing vocals to really help me hear what's happening in real time. So that's what we have in the green channels. On the right side, we've got all of our effects, and all of our effects are going to give us that nice background width and 3D dimension. You know, we've got our delays going on, which I'll talk about just now, you know, and all of those kind of things. And on the left side is where we have all of our groups. So, you know, I send my main vocals to the vocal chain, which is where I do my processing. And then that then either goes to our widening effects, our parallel effects to beef up our vocal, etc., etc. But it also goes to our all vocals chain, is really where I process all of the vocals as one kind of finishing touch. So, you know, if you're new to this concept, it is something that will take time to learn, but that's why my templates are cool, because it kind of throws you into the middle of it and you can kind of learn as you go along. Yeah, man, you know, so we'll kind of start on our effects chain, because I know that's why you're here. I'm already 8 minutes in. But on our main vocal, right, we have auto-tune to start off with. Okay, now for this track I didn't want to do too much auto-tune. I just kind of wanted to just cool out, really get that 25 retune speed just to really help me, as I'm not really a singer, the song was kind of more homely sounding. I didn't want it to sound aggressive and distorted auto-tune, so that's what we went for right there. These are the settings. They'll be different to your song, obviously. Second to that, I used a NS1 NoiseGate, which is just, I don't really have much noise going on in my studio, but since I have the computer here, sometimes you might pick up a bit of the fan hiss or something, so I like to cut that all away. So I do a little bit of noise gating right there, helps give me a sound as well. And then I use a Universal Audio 1176, which is a classic compressor within the community of audio engineers, man. On any rock song, the guitars will be sent through one of these and just smash it. As you can see, all over the track, I'm using 1176s to really just help us achieve a different sound. Now, you can use any 1176 you want if you're a Waves user. CLA 76, Plugin Alliance has the MC77, which is a Purple Audio recreation. There's some free stuff out there, modern series for Windows users. They're just endless. You want to learn how to use one of these. For me personally, I like to just allow this compressor to give us a bit of distortion. This compressor will give you a tiny bit of what we call THD, which is total harmonic distortion. I've got a real version over here. This is an LA4. You can kind of see right there. And, it does its thing, man. It adds a certain sound to our vocals. So I just want to show you how, when this moves backwards, you're seeing how much compression we do.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show. Rockstar life, pull up, let it glow. It's too late right now, I gotta go. Kinda bad.
So as you can see right there, it has this attitude, it's not your everyday clean compressor. It just, rock star, and it just pulls it back, and that's what's really magical about this type of compressor. So, you can check out, find one you like. Obviously, this is exclusive to UAD, so that's what makes it a bit hard to obtain if you don't have either a USB audio interface or Thunderbolt interface. I use a PCI card, which I scooped up a while ago, and that just fits into the motherboard, and you're able to use these plugins. If I actually show you, we've got this little thing going on right there, and as you can see, I'm using quite a few plugins from UAD, and I've got a singular core DSP card, so there's not much going on there, but it gets by, it gets the job done. So yeah, man, after we process that kind of our analog sound, I then send everything into our vocal chain where we do our nitty-gritty processing. So just before I really get into it, I just want to disable everything so you can hear what goes on with the vocals. This only comes on later, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show. Rockstar life.
So as you can see right there, you really need to focus on getting that sound good beforehand. So as you can see, I spent a lot of time really moving the microphone around, trying to get the right sound. I usually have the microphone over here, and then I'll just record and do my thing like that, So the sound is kind of like 80%, 60-70% there. So you already need clean vocals to really get that sound up front. But as you process it, you can't get away with not processing it, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it's just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show.
Because you see, although we have a nice loud definite vocal, once we add that processing and we get that compression, we get that tamedness in the vocal sound, etc, etc. So yeah, man, first thing I do, de-essing, just a little bit of de-essing. I really don't do much de-essing. If I go, I think here's where we get a treble going.
I keep it cool, but why you always stressing me? They say that there comes a threat, won't see you, so rest in peace. Falling out, I hate when we don't speak. Just block it out, cause I know you don't like the thing. Fuck all that fake shit, just...
As you can see right there, I don't de-ess too much, and I'll show you why. I just use de-essing as that kind of high limiter, just to kind of chafe off certain things. I don't want to do heavy de-essing. It's really dependent on the track. If I go for something more trap, I'll generally de-ess more. But for this, I want it to sound natural. So do a little bit of de-essing just to really make sure that later on we don't run into any problems of excessive treble. So this is generally what I like, man. SSL. I have this loaded up on my console right here. My MIDI controller, and this allows me to set up a rough mix. Okay, so I'll always record with this on. I'll always record with these two plugins on. As you can see, I have them on both the beat and the vocal, as if I'm mixing on an SSL console, and I will then be able to, I just hope I'm on the right thing right here. Let me just make sure I'm not. I'll be able to, so look at the top one right there, I'm able to kind of do a little bit of mixing. I'm not going to touch anything else obviously because I don't want to mess anything up, but you know, you get the idea. So I'm able to do a bit of a rough mix. That way I can just really not look at the screen and more so just focus on getting the sound that I want. And really all I do with the vocal is, I might as well keep that up so I can show you the beat. I will do a separate video on the whole beat because I think it's pretty cool how we can process the beat. But as you can see, I do a bit of a high pass filter, okay, meaning I get rid of some of the bass on the vocal, so something like that. Then I do a 203 low shelf, so it does something like this, 203 around, you know, pretend that's 203, and then again a 230 cut as well, which is a bell style cut, so something like that. And then, you know, I just do a little bit of stuff here and there, a little bit of a treble boost 1 dB. And what I also do is a little bit of SSL style compression. Now definitely test out different styles of SSLs. We actually, you know, for the free VST version, for those, we do nowadays have an SSL clone that we can use. So we got the exact same thing going on. So I'm pretty happy that we can get closer to the sound we need. You know, we could emulate it like this, you know, we could do our thing, you know what I mean? And we could really get that sound right, you know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. But really, you know, what you want to do is you want to mess around with this compressor as well. This compressor, you could use a sound godizer, you could use a full delimiter to definitely get the sound right. And yeah, I do a little bit of compression, but what the trick is, I only compress at the end of the mix. So once I'm kind of done mixing and adjusting, I'll then come back and then pull in a little bit of SSL compression, and you get this nice, beautiful kind of crunch going. So on the beat, really don't do much. I do a tiny high cut, low cut, my bad, just 20 hertz. That just opens up the 808 a little bit more. You know, sometimes the producer might put a bit too much 808 in there. You know, just want to do a little bit of technical stuff. And really, I just don't do too much. I just pop the guitar a little bit. And then a tiny bit of compression as well, just to really kiss that 808. It's pretty much the loudest element. So, you know, since it's still hip hop, we need to really, you see, real punk rock doesn't have too much low end because it has more vocal and cymbal and that kind of thing. But when it comes to hip hop, you want to get the 808 booming, and then you want to use the vocal kind of as the cymbals of the track, you know what I mean, if that makes any sense too. But yeah, all I really use the SSL on the beat for is just to drop the level so I can record without recording too loud. So yeah, gain staging, okay. But yeah, man, after that, man, we do a little bit of RVox, okay, so I'm going to speed up a little bit now. I do a bit of RVox, which is really going to squeeze the vocal, pretty simple and sweet, 3 knobs, boom, bam. And then what I do is, this is why I didn't DS a lot, is I really then focus in on cutting frequencies away. So the theory behind this style of EQing is that you want to have your EQ blank, right? So I'm gonna, you know, I'll leave this here for those interested, but I want you to blank out your EQ. You can use the fully parametric EQ too. And then I want you just to play your vocal, get a nice thin cue going on, and then just scope, you know, you're hearing that, you kind of cut it out. And the general rule of thumb is I don't really go over 10 dB. That's kind of where I'm not going to go over unless the song really calls for it. Maybe you've got kind of a low mid thing going on, you can just notch it out right there. But that for me is cool since I had quite a good vocal sound to begin with. So yeah, man. Now this part right here, all of these plugins right here, which are not really too important exactly what's going on, but is I really wanted to have the verses sound a little bit different. So as you can see, the verses over here, let's just get rid of these for now and I'll bring them back. But all of those effects come in over here. So right there, this DLYM automation clip right there. So just pay attention to these over here.
Just block it out, cause I know you don't like the thing. Fuck all that fake shit, just keeping it real though. Yeah, we could just fly away, let's go to Pluto.
So if you can really hear what's going on, the vocal almost drowns in the beat a little bit more, you know what I mean? So to me, I was thinking, how could I have the vocal sound dry and up front, but also slightly change somewhere within the track? And I thought this was the perfect place because the beat is similar to the hook, but I want it to be different from the hook. So that's pretty much what I chose to do. And how I achieved that was, if this camera dies, I apologize. I can see it's low battery, but yeah, man. I use this right here, which is going to give me a nice kind of tape effect, right? I use it just a little bit. I use the spread and that gives us a little bit of a tape sound. From there on, I send that into a reverb. Now, I'm sad that this is now not a free reverb anymore. Unfortunately, the developer must have realized it was a damn good plugin and started selling it for $30. But I would choose this over the Waves Reverb any day, over a lot of paid reverbs, definitely. That's why I'm using it on the main vocal, right? So, you know, it's just a snappy pre-delay, bit of a longer pre-delay, 0.7 set Firkins room sound. This is kind of the future vocal effect right here. Small reverb room size, not too much of a big room, widen it up and there's your sound, okay? And then what I do is I use a bit of fuzz wah at 2%, just to bring in a bit of distortion to that sound. So it's drowning in, but it's still going to come back up because of the distortion. And then I use this Brainworks plugin. So I was quite lucky, man. I just got the email now. Brainworks are allowing everyone to demo their plugins for 30 days, every single plugin. So get this as a demo and mess around with it. And all I really use this for is again, just to kind of flange the vocal a little bit. But yeah, really cool plugin. So yeah, man. Also what I do on all of the vocals is I use a bit of, I just really wanted to tame everything together. I found this quite an annoying region, get rid of some of the lower stuff, and then I just was finding this frequency annoying, so I got rid of that, and then I compressed everything, not that much though, so
just block it out, cause I know you don't like the thing. Fuck all that fake shit, just keeping it real though.
So that's really just a safety net for if all of the vocals get too loud, then it just compresses. And then this is kind of where the magic happens right here as well, is a Pultec style EQ. You can use the PTEX. I think also Analog Obsession probably have a free Pultec you can go find. But yeah, really cool. All I do is, a little bit of a warming up there, 200, a little bit of a cut at 200, and then it does this weird thing. And then I do a little bit of a presence boost at 2K just to give our vocals that kind of modern sound. And then on the second EQ, I just do again a cut and boost, which gives us a strange kind of warming effect. And then I boost the heck out of this 10K region right here, and then I cut it 20K, and it just does something strange. But yeah, man, and then I just use this final DSO. You can use any DSO you like. I just pulled this one up first, and it sounded cool. But really, this just makes sure that if anything gets too loud, it's just cutting it away.
Just block it out, cause I know you don't like the thing. Fuck all that fake shit, just keeping it real though. Yeah, we could just fly away.
So I'm not using too much of the DS, as you can see right there. It's only it's 70% wet dry, so I do allow some of the original to stick around. But yeah, that's all our main vocals. So on our doubles, I always found it pretty cool how a lot of emo tracks will have a dryish, kind of wettish double going on. So that's why we kind of got this going on.
Kind of bands, I'm the man, rock star. Yeah, I think I'm Marilyn Manson.
Not really much going on. You could bring this up. I'm just going to leave this now because I don't think I can undo. Maybe I just don't want to. Right now, I've never really used this plugin much, but that's all I'm doing is just to spread it a tiny bit, like 2% kind of spread. And then I kept the same EQ from the previous video and then kept the same compressor just to really squash it. So as you can see, it just completely squashes the vocal, so it stays the same. And then I used a widener right here just to make that 2%, 4% per se. But yeah, that's pretty much all we did right there. And then on the what is this ad-lib right here? I think it might be this one. Here we go a bit more crazy on the auto-tune, okay, NoiseGate, and then just some distortion, sound goodizer, this delay, this DLYM plugin, really cool for that kind of flangey sound, reverb, and then a bit of EQ just to create that stadium effect. And there you go, that's pretty much what we do. And yeah, we've got a ad-lib, which is pretty cool. I kind of replicated like a Marilyn Manson style kind of sound in the background.
Show. Glow.
So definitely check out, there's a track by Gucci Mane and Marilyn Manson, definitely check it out, where he kind of raps with this, and it's really cool. It's just like the coolest thing ever. But yeah, so I did a bit of EQ, auto-tune, whatever, and some compression, DLYM, and then Mondo Mod, which is pretty cool. So you can see right here on this part of the track, where the song kind of stops in motion.
All the signs that you write here. Left me all alone, but I'm right here, so cold. Left me all alone, but I'm right here. Yeah, my heart's so cold.
So as you can see right there, the vocal moves from left to right, and that's what a Mondo Mod will do. You can also use the Fruity Panamatic, does the same thing. I just wanted to show you a visual representation. To me, they sound exactly the same. It's just panning stuff left to right. Obviously, with this one, you can create some flanging effects, and it has a few more features, but yeah. So yeah, man, that's pretty much what we do. With the backing vocals, as you can see right here, if we just play them here, it's a lot more definite than there.
Demons, they lurk, and I'm certain she flirting. All this pain got purpose is not.
So you can see what I do is I just basically re-record two doubles, but then they pan hard left and right. And then I do hard auto-tune on them so they sound distorted. And then I just de-ess them to make them sound dirty. and then I just EQ out and then retone them.
Demons they lurk, and I'm certain she flirting. All this pain got you hurt, and I know there's some search.
I prefer to de-ess the doubles so that, you know, we kind of don't overpower the main vocal. So yeah, man, that's pretty much all we have going on. Reverb, I'm actually using this one right here. So this is, I've replaced my SPL finally with a free reverb, which is sick. So those are the settings I use. Delay is still the same as always. You know, it's just this kind of weird thing going on with 2 delays at once and does crazy stuff. Do I use this? I think I use this once in a while, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's this part, 16. What is 16? Okay, so this is actually our delay in this track, yeah, so yeah, so I use 2 H3000s and it has these delay effects. So that's pretty much what I do. It's really just a chorus and a delay, you know, whatever. And yeah, we got this hook widen as well, which I use on the track where our automation right here. There you go. So, you know, everything up to the verses has this kind of effect going on it, and I really quite like it. So if you listen to this right here.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show.
So that's kind of sitting on the side of the vocals, and what it is it's just an absolute smash of a compression, right? So it goes all the way back to 20, and then I use this doubler. Definitely try and compress heavy, and then try and add your doubler on, and you'll see it'll actually sound like you want it to sound, because it has this consistent kind of staying in one place kind of sound. Doublers don't sound nice when they're all over the place, just a cool tip. And then yeah, man, I haven't changed my parallel compression much. As you can see, we send them to here. We have an 1176, we have an MV2, if you want to see how that looks.
Yeah, my heart's so cold, it just like snow. 20 bands just to pull up to the show. Rockstar life, pull up, let it glow. It's too late right now, I gotta go.
So as you can see right there, we don't get the treble ready from the main vocal, we get it from this distortion. It just adds this like bite to the vocal sound. So yeah, man, that's pretty much all I'll cover right now. I'll do a second video on mixing the beat, because I got a really cool little trick to get the guitars to sound wider. And then maybe I'll do the mastering if you guys are also interested in that. But yeah, man, thank you for spending some time. Definitely check the link in the description to cop a copy of this. You will get this exact FLP minus the vocals, as well as a standard VST version with stock and free VST, so you can still follow along without having to purchase all of the plugins. Definitely cool to check out my vocal recording course as well, vocal mixing course, so you can get more of an idea of how to set this all up for yourself and, you know, make cash if you're an engineer, or just have better sounding vocals if you're a hobbyist. Definitely good to spend time doing this. So yeah, man, I'll check out next time. Peace out.